Good morning, I'm Roland Martin. Next on News One Now, more drama in the NFL. Commissioner Roger Goodell, he says everybody must stand when it comes to the national anthem. Color Change has responded, blasting them. We'll also talk with the executive director of the Afghanistan Veterans Group. They did a poll, we talked about it the other day, that laid out how service members actually feel about this whole issue. And so she'll break this thing down for us. Also, on today's show, we'll also go over the issue of Atlanta. Again, we'll talk about 12 people running for mayor of Atlanta. A huge election with major implications, including the possibility of the first non-black mayor in Atlanta since 1973. So we'll talk to a reporter with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Also on the show, folks, the fallout from the Flint water crisis continues with Michigan's chief medical examiner facing more serious questions. Also, in my special School Choice All-Stars, we visit a charter school in California. It has a deep-rooted history in giving African-American students the opportunity for a great education. Plus, Reggie Hutland, he and I go one-on-one talking about the movie Marshall, opening in theaters on Friday about the great lawyer Thurgood Marshall. Also, the second hour, Eminem has everybody talking after he blasted, some say ether, Donald Trump in last night's Hip Hop Awards. We'll actually show you all that he had to say. Plus, it's Wild and Out Wednesday, and so got some fun for our comedians. I'm sure Trump's name will come up. It's time to bring the funk. News One Now on TVOne. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell has made it perfectly clear he wants players to stand when it comes to the national anthem. Yesterday, Goodell sent a letter to all of the team owners and executives, making it perfectly clear where he stands on this issue. Quote, like many of our fans, we believe that everyone should stand for the national anthem. It is an important moment in our game. We want to honor our flag and our country, and our fans expect that of us. We also care deeply about our players and respect their opinions and concerns about critical social issues. Now, while Goodell said he believes everyone should stand, there are a number of proposals on the table dealing with this particular issue. Meanwhile, Donald Trump continues taking shots at the NFL, ignoring Puerto Rico, ignoring other major issues around the country. And so also, we talked about Jemele Hill. Of course, she was suspended by ESPN. Well, of course, Michael Smith, her partner on the show, chose not to do the show with her, not to do the show yesterday after she was suspended. This is what she tweeted in response. I love you, Michael L. Smith, for being my biggest supporter, a great friend, terrific husband and father. I truly don't deserve you. See you soon. Also on yesterday, of course, we told you Reverend Al Sharpton said they were holding a news conference outside of ESPN headquarters to discuss this very issue. And so Sharpton, here's, I think we have some of that news conference on yesterday.
We found the announced suspension of Jemele Hill to be outrageous at best and insulting in fact. To suspend someone for tweeting their analysis of what Jerry Jones did and to act as though that somehow desecrates the name of the company seems to us to be a bridge too far.
Sharpton also suggested that there are racial undertones to Jerry Jones' decision.
Jerry Jones' decision in many ways smacks of a plantation mentality. Let us not forget, Jerry Jones himself took a knee with members of the team. In essence, what Jerry Jones is saying is that you can bow if I tell you to bow. You can take a knee if I tell you to take a knee and take it with me. But if you want to do it on your own, then you'll be off the field.
And also yesterday, you also saw Mike Wilbon blast Jerry Jones as well, using the word plantation to describe exactly what took place by Jerry Jones. Joining us right now is Scott Roberts, Criminal Justice Director for ColorChange.org. Our panel, Dr. Greg Charr, Chair of the Department of Afro-American Studies at Howard University. Rina Shah, Republican political strategist and consultant. Spencer Overton, President of the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies. I'll start with you. Color Change, highly critical of Jerry Jones' stance, and he's doubled down, tripled down, if you will, and being very defiant, making it perfectly clear that the players will do whatever he tells them what to do.
Well, I mean, that's what he thinks. We'll find out what they ultimately decide to do. I think the players need to ultimately stick together, be strategic in this moment. But we do have a week, right? You know, there's going to be a vote next Tuesday at the NFL owners meeting. I think there's the opportunity for them to do a lot of pushback. With Jerry Jones, I think he is treading a really dangerous line, lining up with Donald Trump, right? I mean, in this moment, he may feel okay, but I think in the long arc of history, being aligned with Donald Trump around racial issues in the U.S. is probably not a good look. I think, when you see folks like Bob Corker and other folks even backing away from him, when, do you want to be associated with a president who equivocated between anti-racist protesters and neo-Nazis? I would hope not. I think that the other thing happening is that the players have put forth very clear messaging around what it is that they want. They have come together, formed a coalition around criminal justice issues. They've sent a memo to the league requesting that the league focus on these issues and set aside a month, just like they focus on cancer this month, to focus on racial justice and criminal justice issues in November. And we've heard nothing about what the league plans to do in terms of that request, or if they're going to vote on that in the owners meeting next week. And that's what this should be about. We can't get caught up messing around with Donald Trump, his tweets, getting caught up in these symbolic fights about flags, Confederate monuments.
But that's what's driving the NFL owners, though, because, again, that's what got their attention. Shall I go to my iPad? Yesterday, Local 100 United Labor Unions filed a complaint against the Cowboys on Tuesday. This is from ESPN.com, alleging owner and general manager Jerry Jones has violated the National Labor Relations Act by threatening players if they choose not to stand for the national anthem. Greg Carr. So here you have a local union filing this complaint against Jerry Jones. Was still interesting to me how these national labor unions are quiet.
Well, I mean, the attack on the unions from the right has been a long-standing, position for them. But, you look at the current bargaining agreement. It says, Scott says they're going to be dealing with New York in a couple of days. It's not mandatory that you stand. And so Jerry Jones, this is a coordinated effort, clearly a coordinated effort. Trump's been working the phones. I mean, Goodell's time release, smiling Mike Pence's fake stance in Indianapolis, and Jerry Jones taking the lead in this. They're working the phones. They're trying to tamp down a slave rebellion. And right now, it's all in flux.
Rina, yesterday, there was nothing in Roger Goodell's statement that dealt with the very issues the players have been talking about. And that's the problem here. If the owners make any attempt to do so, that would at least tell the players, hey, you're listening. They don't want to deal with racial justice. All they want, Goodell basically said, in sports, we are the escape for people, and so they can get away for a few hours. Our commitment should be to basically there to entertain them.
Their commitment should be to the players, the people who put on this game. And frankly, to Scott's point, they do all this for breast cancer, no women in this league, and you can't do it for racial injustice, which it affects everybody. Truly, there's so many interracial couples now in America. There are children that are growing up and seeing this and wondering which way do they fall on this issue, what's right. And when they see this coming from the federal level and then again from a commissioner of the league, there's so much confusion about truly where to come down on this issue. Is it a black and white issue? It's become that. And I think that's what's scariest for America. What I'm most concerned about is the individual players, people like Colin Kaepernick, who are talented, gifted people who are suffering the repercussions of having just spoken and free, expressed themselves. That's really it. And I think the simplicity of the argument here is that it's going to come down to legality. What can these owners legally do to players? Can they fire a player? They can, but it's not likely that they will. And so it's it's just a very murky issue, Roland. I think it's just right now we're in the thick of it, and this is just really bad for the American public, especially for our children who are growing up watching this game, idolizing these players, and a commissioner should take the lead, especially when federal elected officials are not doing so.
Spencer, this is Malcolm Jenkins, one of the players with the Philadelphia Eagles. Right. Again, go to my iPad, please. Malcolm, this is again from ESPN. Malcolm Jenkins said, I think we've seen even over the last year that you can take a player out of the league. You can threaten to do whatever you want to do. That's not going to deter players from doing what's right or doing what they believe is right. You might be able to change the manner in which that looks, but I don't see players stopping their pursuit for justice or equality.
They're real human beings. They're men and women who are stepping up to the plate. Part of the problem is we've got these executives who are saying, oh, you got it wrong. Jamil Hill, you're not a commentator. Football player, you're not a real competitor. You are an entertainer, and you're off script. And so we're going to have to intervene because you're messing up our show. That's basically what management is saying.
Again, Color Change has been working with these players. I talked to Rashad Robinson, working with Eric Reed, who was on The View just on yesterday, speaking on this issue. And still, what I think jumps out is, I still believe what the players should do is take that 10-page memo, have simultaneous news conferences in respective cities, and say, y'all can keep talking about this here. We're going to bring this back to the very issue, and literally hold that up and say, national media, report on this, put this on the air, and talk about this here. As long as this is about respect for military or disrespect, flag, and the anthem, and not about the issues they raise, then Trump wins.
I think that's right. The players, when we've heard from them, I think they've been very clear that is what they want to do. They do not want to be in the middle of a back and forth over who's going to stand, who's going to kneel. They want to talk about the issues that brought this to the forefront in the first place. I think they've been doing some of that work. There've been fantastic op-eds in the New York Times, Rick Reed, and the Post from Malcolm Jenkins over the last couple of weeks, and they're showing a tremendous amount of, I think, moral courage. The question for me is, where is that from these owners? These are some of the most powerful people in the country, financially secure. Where are they in this moment? When are they going to stand up and push back against
In fact, go to my iPad, please, Shelley. This is Eric Reed yesterday on The View speaking to this very issue.
The aftermath of Alton Sterling. He was killed by police in my hometown of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and at that point I knew I needed to do something. I needed to use my platform to speak out for the people who didn't have a voice. So I joined Colin in protesting the issues in this country, which include police brutality, systemic oppression of black and brown people.
And what is it not about?
It's definitely not about the anthem, the flag, or the military. I think that's the biggest pushback we've gotten thus far. When we decided to start this process, we decided to kneel as a sign of respect. So it's very confusing for me that it's been misconstrued as disrespectful.
It is.
Spencer.
Yeah. So, the rules, they say that players should stand, not that they must stand, right? So just technical rules, it should, it's not must. But also, the rules also say that the players should have their helmet in the left hand. Right. When players don't do that, I don't see folks going off and saying it's disrespectful. It's the notion of disagreeing with the notion that Black Lives Matter. It's this message of disagreement that is why folks are in a tizzy.
And as Wendy Osefo said yesterday on the show, this is reminiscent of when a slave was disciplined and they made the other slaves watch. There is clear collusion on the part of the NFL owners to Colin Kaepernick. You will not be back in this league, and we're going to use you as the example to every player. Don't you dare open your mouth. Even if you lead your team to the Super Bowl, we will sit your butt down and not even give you a tryout.
Yeah, that's what I said at the very beginning. The players got to stick together right now, because if one player gets isolated, they can be pushed out, especially in the NFL, no guaranteed contracts, but if they stick together, I think if they do this, if they do whatever they're going to do together in mass, it would be very hard, I think, for the owners to push them around.
And Greg, bottom line is this here. This is the creme de la creme. You can't just all of a sudden go grab some highly talented guy off the street and think that'll work. That's where their power is. They have leverage and influence. Right. Owners have power, but you got to use your leverage and influence.
And let's just think about the irony of this. We're not talking about civil rights leaders. We're not talking about educators. We're talking about athletes, because that is the one area where we are been allowed in this slave-based system to excel. So they do have the platform. Now what I do is I stand for the anthem, but if you notice, I won't sing that anthem. I repeat the names of people, my ancestors and those who've been killed by state violence. What if they stood and they moved their mouths and were saying that? Is that going to be outlawed next? Alton Sterling, Sandra Bland, and the thing that you've been raising on this show, Roland, consistently. It's good to see Al Sharpton out there yesterday, but where is the civil rights community? These boys are out, these brothers out there playing. They're athletes. Surround them now. This is the time.
That's right, and I've been saying it again. All right, folks, when we come back, we'll talk with veterans, talk about their recent poll on this very issue on our Tom Jones Morning Show simulcast. Back in a couple of minutes.